Yeah, so hello everybody. Before we move on to the next slide, we can do some quick introductions. So I'm Kiera. I am in my last year actually of school at UNC Chapel Hill. Um, I study global studies and Spanish, and so I'm the one who's going to be presenting on Argentina because in that country they speak Spanish.
Hi, I'm Hia. I'm also in my last year at UNC, and I'm studying business. And my family is from Bangladesh, and I spent some time there last summer, so I'll be teaching you all about Bangladesh.
Yep. So before we move on, we do have a couple learning objectives just so we are able to measure all the things that we learned today. So I'll just read the first point: compare and contrast music, TV, films within the United States versus Bangladesh and Argentina. So we're going to provide you different kind of examples, videos, pictures, and you'll be able to see them within the countries that we're studying and also be able to see how that's similar to the United States. And then the next point, it says say a phrase in Spanish or Bengali. So these are both the languages that they speak in our countries. So hopefully you'll be able to learn a different phrase or a word that you can go home and just start saying to your parents. And then finally, we have identify cultural diversity within Argentine and Bangladeshi music, TV, and film. So just seeing the different aspects of culture in the countries using these different mediums.
So we wanted to just give you a little bit of introduction about where in the world we are talking about when you hear Argentina and Bangladesh. So Argentina. So first of all, we put the U.S. and we put North Carolina on our map, and so hopefully everybody knows that that's where that is, where the mouse is. And then Argentina is in South America, so it's where that mouse is. And then Bangladesh is all the way on the other side of the world in Asia.
And you guys learned about Peru in one of our other presentations, and Argentina is not too far from Peru. It's also in South America. And we talked about India also in another presentation, and Bangladesh is not too far from India. So some of those areas of the world that we've already talked about.
I'll take this first row. So we do want to do a quick game just to test to see if you know anything about the country, or you can learn some very quick fun facts just from playing the game. So you're gonna guess. You have two options, either Argentina or Bangladesh. So I'll read the first one, and then you'll see their flag come up. You can just I'll read the first one. So empanadas are popular food from Argentina or Bangladesh.
That one's in Argentina. They eat empanadas. We talked a lot about food the last couple of weeks.
Next option or question is the tiger is the national animal of this country.
You're right. The tiger is the national animal in Bangladesh.
It says this country has the longest beach in the world.
Oh, actually, Bangladesh. That one surprised me. I thought it might be Argentina.
So it says this country had 5 presidents in just 10 days in 2001, which is a very quick turnover. So which country do you think it is?
This one is Argentina.
So for the next row, which country do you think has the third largest Muslim population in the world? Actually, Bangladesh is located next to India. Bangladesh. So the tango is a popular dance in Argentina or Bangladesh? Argentina. Which country gained independence on July 6th, 1816?
Yeah, a lot of you guys got that one. Argentina.
Okay, so here are some fun facts about Bangladesh. You can just click the slide. So like I mentioned, it is next to India, and the official language is Bangla or Bengali. That is the flag of Bangladesh. It's green and red. The national animal, like you all guessed, is the Royal Bengal tiger. So Bangladesh is the number 8th most populated country in the world, and so that is actually a train where there's people on top, in the middle, and all over the sides. Bangladesh also has the longest beach in the world called the Cox's Bazar. And then Bangladesh has 6 seasons instead of 4. And they are summer, monsoon, autumn, late autumn, winter, and spring. And Bangladesh also is a majority Muslim country.
Yeah, so here's some basic information about Argentina. Liz mentioned that y'all studied Peru, so like you said, it's not very far from Peru. It's only a couple countries south. But the capital is Buenos Aires, and that is the city that I visited when I was last year, actually. It's crazy. Last summer I visited. The country population, there's 44 million people in the country, and it's also the second largest in South America. And so you can see how that compares to Brazil, for example, is that other very large country to the north. And then something that always surprised me when I visited was that pink house you can see. So similar to the United States, this is White House where the executive branch processes happen. The same thing happens in the pink house. It's just, I thought the color was pretty interesting that they painted it pink, and the United States is the White House. So yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to ask some questions to you all about movies, music, and TV shows. So we wanted to ask all of you, what are some of your favorite movies? And if you want to raise your hand and just share with us, we could do it that way. So it sounds like you all watch lots of cool movies, a lot of action, a lot of different things. And we'll definitely talk about some other types of movies in our own countries. And then we want to ask, what cartoons do you all like to watch?
And music. There's another question about music after this one.
So you could share what your favorite cartoons or favorite songs, musicians.
I think we can, thanks for sharing your answers, everyone. I think we can go on to the next slide. But yeah, think about the answers that you provided and how they compare to the countries that we're going to speak about. To start with movies. Movies in Argentina and Bangladesh. But before we start, so we do, like I said, want to teach you certain phrases and words. So if you want to say movie in Spanish, is película.
You said yesterday.
Película.
Now that.
So there's an example at the bottom. It says, I like to watch movies.
When I went home,
in Spanish, it'd be me gusta ver películas. So everybody, if you want to repeat the word after me, película. You wanted to say movie theater, like the place, then the word is cine. Bottom, person says, let's go to the movie theater. You would say, vamos al cine. So, for example, we have some examples of movies. So Argentina, they've won several Oscar awards for some of their drama live action movies, but they also, this picture that says El Apostol, that is one of the oldest animated movies ever. It came out in around 1917. And then you kind of fast forward to 2013, there's a movie in Spanish called Mete Gold, but in English it's called Underdogs. And we don't have to watch the whole trailer, but basically it is about this person who, I put it in English, it's a person who played foosball when he was a kid, and he beat like the best foosball player in their neighborhood. And so fast forward in time, that guy comes back and he decides to buy the whole town out of revenge. And so they have to, they basically just have to keep him from buying their town and messing it up. So we can see just a couple, I think it's about a minute.
Yes, sir. I'll be right with you. You're Jake, right? Sundays are great. What's your favorite? Oh, I love whatever you love. Laura's got a boyfriend! No, that boy Ace.
Whatever if it isn't a star foosball player. What makes me? Well, the real champion, if you insist. Ziggy sees his captain. He passes it over to Rico. He lines up and shot and boom, it's in! Goal!
Jake thought the bullying was over, but when his rival Ace returns after 7 years, the real battle begins.
Thank you, my little town.
Why do you refer to this place as your little town?
Because it's little and it's mine.
And destruction begins now.
To save his town,
I'm challenging you to a rematch. Warm that up. Let's play real side.
If Jake wins, we get our town back from here.
he'll need a little help from some tiny friends.
Jake! Ta-da! Today's the first day of the rest of my life.
Yeah, an insane asylum.
The world's smallest heroes
I must be seeing things. Am I dreaming? We came to life for a reason.
We're gonna help. Game for you.
must defeat the world's greatest team.
I'll trust you.
So we can pause it now.
Okay.
This is
Yeah, so that movie was originally in Spanish, but eventually came out a couple years later. And so some of the people who acted in it for the English version include Ariana Grande, Bella Thorne, Katie Holmes, and people like that. So many of you mentioned how you really enjoy Marvel movies. And when you go to Argentina, a lot of the movies actually you'll see come from the United States, and they just provide subtitles at the bottom. So for example, when I went to see Godzilla, it was in English, but they just had Spanish subtitles at the bottom. And this is the same for many other movies that come to the country. So that Marvel Endgame was very popular. And then if you can see that Monumental Theater picture, it has several movies that are from the United States as well. And they just provide it either with subtitles or it has been dubbed over in Spanish.
So now we're going to talk about movies in Bangladesh, but before we do that, we're also going to learn some movie-related words in Bangla. So the word for movie in Bangla is cinema. It's just the same as cinema, but with kind of an accent. And so if you want to say, do you want to watch a movie, you would say cinema dekhte chao. So if everyone could say the word for movie in Bangla, we'll say it together, cinema. And then for a film star or movie star, if it's a male, then you would say nayok. So if everyone could say nayok.
Yeah.
And then the word for the female movie star is very similar, but just a little bit different. And it would be naika. Good job, everyone. So movies in Bangladesh are characterized by a couple of different things. You could click next on this slide. So they're, instead of what we have in the US, we call it Hollywood, they have something called Hollywood, but it's pretty much where they make all the movies. And then their movies are characterized by melodramatic cinema, and we'll talk about what that means in the next slide. And song, there are a lot of songs in movies which you might not see in the US, but it's very typical to see people singing and dancing in movies. So then you click next. So we talked about what melodramatic means in a movie. And so it means when there's a lot of exaggerated features, a lot of dramatic music, facial expressions, and zoom-ins. And so this is a scene. It's very similar to Bengali in Bangla movies, but it's actually an Indian one. But if you could click the video, we can watch an example of what that means. And it's a little bit funny. It's a girl, she doesn't know that you're not supposed to wash a laptop, but somebody tells her to do that anyways. And so then her husband finds out she's doing that, and she just gets, it's just the reaction of what everybody sees. And there's her husband. And it goes on like that for a while, but you can just see how they zoom into the camera and the face, and the music gets really exaggerated. So that's very characteristic of something you would see in a Bangla movie.
Yeah, don't watch your laptop at home.
Yeah, don't do that. And then these are some examples of movie posters, which are really common. A lot of people will put them out in the streets, even on their cars and on some public transportation. You would see like some of these kinds of drawings on. And so there's a lot of fighting, and there's a lot of there's usually like a main man and a woman, and there usually like is a romantic interest. Let me go to the next slide. Okay, so now we're going to move on to TV. And so before we get into that, we just wanted to ask all of you what kinds of things you or your family or people at home watch on TV, and what kinds of things, first of all, what kinds of things do you watch at home on TV? So Liz, if you could click the next slide. So a lot of us watch different things. Some people watch sports at home. Some of us watch reality TV show, kind of like The Voice. Some people watch funny dramas and things like that on Disney Channel, cartoons, news. So when you watch TV, you see a lot of different things about the world that you're living in. And so TV is a very important part of culture because it can teach us what's common and what's relevant in specific areas. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what kinds of things you might see on TV in Bangladesh and then in Argentina. So before we go into that, so one of the most popular sports that you might watch on TV in Bangladesh is called cricket. And cricket is very similar to baseball, but it's a lot longer and there's a lot of different rules with it. But that's one of the most popular sports in Bangladesh, and they compete against other countries in the world, kind of like you might see in soccer. And then here on the other picture, you see pictures of people in Bangladesh who are big fans of soccer, and some of their two favorite teams are actually Brazil and Argentina. So you see a little bit of connection between our two countries.
If you watch sports at their house, you can raise your hand if you watch sports at home. Yeah.
Cool. And then these are just also in Bangladesh, another famous type of thing you might see on TV is comedy. And we won't watch the video because it's a little bit longer, but comedies are typically written by and for older audiences, and especially during the holiday seasons, you'll see more comedies kind of coming on TV. And then this is an example of a news clip. It's kind of similar to what you might watch on TV at home, but we'll just watch a couple, like about 30 seconds of it.
বিজেপির যুব মোর্চার নবান্ন অভিযানকে ঘিরে ধুন্ধুমার, বিভিন্ন জায়গায় পুলিশের লাঠিচার্জ, ঢল কামানের ব্যবহার, বেশ কয়েকজন আহত বলে অভিযোগ।
So just kind of something very similar to what you might see here, but obviously with a lot of different language and music and things like that.
You guys can see there's a different alphabet. The letters look different. And they were also wearing masks, right? So a lot of other countries in the world also have to wear masks like we do.
And then these are some cartoons. So a lot of cartoons are influenced by religion and other cultural elements. So in that first video, we can watch a short piece of that. And he's basically one of the gods visiting this man. He's the god of the seasons.
রূপা ভগবানকে দেখে চমকে গেল আর ওনাকে প্রণাম করলো।
তুমি কেন আমায় সব সময় দোষারোপ করো? প্রণাম প্রভু, কারণ আপনি সব মরশুমের কর্মকর্তা। আপনি মরশুমের পরিবর্তন করেন। আপনারই কথাতে ঝড় বৃষ্টি এসে আমার ক্ষেত নষ্ট করে দেয়। আর আজ
So he's just visiting him, and he's very shocked that he's in the presence of this person, this god who controls the seasons. And so that one's based in Hindu religion, which is another famous religion in Bangladesh. And then obviously a lot of the American cartoons that were in America are also sometimes translated into Bangla. So this is a clip from SpongeBob. Some of you mentioned that you enjoy watching SpongeBob. I did too. And so this is just a short clip that has been translated in Bangla. So we can just watch a couple seconds of that one too.
এখন আমি সেই মাছগুলোর কথা বলবো যাদের গায়ে খুব দুর্গন্ধ ওরা এমন যারা বেশিরভাগ সময় থাকে পানিতে তাহলে ওদের গায়ে এত দুর্গন্ধ হয় কিভাবে
So yeah, the same thing that we've seen, but just in a different language.
We might have missed this slide for here, but language part for the TV. But for Argentina, so if you wanted to say TV show, it's pretty long, but if you can see, it's pretty similar to the words television program in English. But in Spanish, usually the noun and the adjective are flip-flopped. So you'll see program is like the nouns that'll be in the beginning, and the television, you're kind of describing what it is. So it's a television program. So in Spanish, to sound it out, it's programa de televisión. So we can sound it out very slowly all together. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think I heard somebody pronouncing it. So if you wanted to put that into a sentence, in English, Tom and Jerry is a good TV show. In Spanish, that is Tom y Jerry es un buen programa de televisión. It was very long, but it's pretty much the same as in English. It's just the words have been flip-flopped. So similar to in Bangladesh, soccer, football is also the most popular sport, and so many people will watch this on a day-to-day basis when the games are being played, and they take it very seriously. So, for example, if you were to go see one of the junior leagues, it's best to only support the team. If, like, for example, you go to a certain neighborhood and that team is popular there, it's not a good idea to just go in supporting the opposite team because they take their teams very seriously, and it's a lot of pride in the sport. And so another examples of television. So a lot of the shows, similar to like the movies, you'll find them watching shows produced in the United States that'll just have the subtitles in Spanish they can watch. Also, there is this thing, Disney Latin America. And so all the TV shows, Disney produces a lot of TV shows based in different Latin American countries, such as Argentina and Peru, and Mexico and other countries like that. And so this is an example of one of the Disney shows. It's called Bia. And this show is a lot of singing. You can actually find a lot of the clips from the show on YouTube, the Disney Latin America YouTube channel. And you'll find a whole bunch of songs. So I won't say like High School Musical is out of y'all's time age bracket, but I won't say completely like High School Musical, but she does do a lot of singing. And then this clip we're going to watch, it's in Spanish, but it is by this lady who produced a lot of children's shows that teach people their language. It's similar to, for example, if you watched, I feel so old, Dora or things like that, where you'll have a song and it's able to help children learn the languages that they are surrounded by, so you can watch it. And it's basically just about a cow who, she's a grandma, but she decides that she wants to go to school. And so all the students in her class start misbehaving, and so she's the only one who actually learns anything from the class. And the teacher is very surprised that a cow wants to take. That would be cool. Yeah.
Había una vez una vaca en la guerra de un mamá. Como era muy vieja, estaba sorda de una oreja. Y a pesar de que ella era abuela, un día quiso ir a la escuela. Se puso unos zapatos rojos, guantes de tul y un par de anteojos. La viola maestra asustada y dijo, estás equivocada. La vaca le respondió, porque no puedo estudiar yo. La vaca vestida de blanco se acomodó en el primer banco. Los chicos tirábamos tizas y nos moríamos de risa. La gente se fue muy
That's pretty
curiosa.
much it. Yeah, so she's the only one who learns anything in class, despite her being a cow, and then all the other humans act up in class too much to learn anything. So I think the lesson is to pay attention in class. So our final topic is on music. So similar to the lady who was singing, you can see that combination of music and film and TV and how these all shape a country's culture. And so we have two questions for all of you. Where do you think music comes from? Or why do you listen to music? And so people can raise their hands to answer either of these questions. Reasons for why you listen to music. Many of the things that y'all said, like a trip or trying to calm down when someone is annoying you, are all very good reasons to listen to music because it affects you in a happier place. And speaking of music, so of course we have to teach you a couple phrases and terms. So music in Spanish is actually pretty similar to music in English. You just pronounce it slightly different, and then you have an A at the end. So in Spanish, it's pronounced música. The example that we have at the bottom is I like to listen to music. In Spanish, that is me gusta escuchar música. Another word that we have is singer, and that is cantante. Very good. So if you wanted to put that into a sentence, you can say she is a talented singer. Ella es una cantante talentosa. So cantante is singer and música is music. And some examples of music, actually. So most of the music that you find is popular, or the most popular, is actually coming from countries like Puerto Rico or Colombia. A lot of the countries throughout South America listen heavily to musicians from Colombia or Puerto Rico or Cuba, usually. But you do have examples of, for like music. So that band, it's three guys. They are a very famous rock band from Argentina called Soda Stereo. And the other two, the young girls, I would say they're similar to Chloe and Halle in that they were first popular on YouTube and now they're making music, a music career out of that. Slide talks about, we mentioned earlier tango was a popular dance, but it is also a form of music. And so it's typically made from instruments such as the violin, piano, guitar. You'll hear some percussion, but one of the most notable instruments that you might hear is called the bandoneon. And now I'm actually glitching on the actual English word for that. I can't remember. But if you've ever seen that instrument, in Spanish it's called bandoneon, and you play it, like, I don't know if you can see me, but you kind of open and close it, and that's how the sound comes from. And so we'll listen to a little bit of what tango instrumental sounds like. So that's what tango music sounds like. I'm pretty sure you heard that violin is very noticeable, that aspect of music. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So now we're going to learn a little bit about music in Bangladesh. But first, we're going to learn some phrases and words that relate to music in Bangla. So the word for song or music in Bangla is called gan. So if everyone could say gan, the flute, which is a very popular instrument in a lot of folk music in Bangladesh, is called bashi, and melody or harmony, like in a song, would be shur. Okay, so this is a picture of some of the famous folk instruments that you may hear in Bangla music. And so the one with the strings, they look sort of like a banjo. That's very popular. And then the one with in the middle with the little pipes, that's a type of flute. And then the bottom two are forms of Bangla drums, and they're called the tabla. And so when you hear all of them together in the next slide, we'll hear how they all sound together. And then in the middle, this is a picture of a famous songwriter. His name was Rabindranath Tagore, and he was the first person to win a Nobel Prize in all of Asia. But he's very famous for writing a lot of the popular poems that have later been turned into songs. And he also wrote the national anthem of the country. And then the last one is called a harmonium. It's sort of like a mix of a piano and an accordion. So you play the keys with your right hand, and then with your left hand, you would move the accordion-like part. And so that's how it sounds together. And then we're going to hear a little clip of folk music and how they all sound. Yeah, so you see how all the different instruments kind of come together, and it's very special, especially in a lot of the village cultures where people just get together and dance and sing to music. So now we're going to take a test together. It's not graded, just for fun. So we're going to ask you all some questions. So Kira, you can take the first one.
So you have to think all the way back to about 30 minutes ago when we talked about movie in Spanish. So you can put up your fingers as to which option you think it is. So what is movie in Spanish? The first choice is cine. The second choice is bandoneon. And the third choice is película. So which one do you think it is? And you can, raise your hand and say like 1, 2, or 3. Yeah.
Good memory.
Yeah, very good memory. So yeah, movie in Spanish is película. Cine is the movie theater, and bandoneon is that instrument. That accordion is what I meant to say. I cannot remember, and then he just reminded me.
Yeah. So then the next question is a word in Bangla that we just learned for song or music. So the first option, if you think it's shur, hold up 1 finger. If you think it's gan, hold up 2 fingers. If you think it's kabor, hold up 3 fingers. Ew, you're right, it's gan. I'd ask you if you think that TV shows in the US that you watch here at home are different or similar to the TV shows that are watched in Argentina and Bangladesh. So if anyone wants to just raise their hand.
So there's some similarities between the different countries and some differences. But the last question that we have to test your knowledge, what are some instruments used to make music in Argentina or Bangladesh? So if you remember any instruments, feel free to raise your hand or you can just shout them out.
You can also describe it if you don't remember the name.
Yeah, so bandoneon, you can see that in the first question. That's the accordion instrument that they play, but you can also hear the violin and the piano and the guitar, pretty popular instruments for tango.
And then with the folk music, we saw some string instruments. We saw the harmonium, which was the piano accordion thing. We saw the tabla, which were the drums, and then we also saw some handbells.
Yeah, so just to wrap up all the things that we have learned today, thanks y'all for just kind of participating and then answering our questions and things like that. Um, but yeah, film and music and TV all play a very large role in the different ways that culture is created and exemplified in different countries. And so you can see the similarities between our countries and the United States. And there are also differences. And I think that all of these differences and similarities just make culture much more fascinating to learn about. And so you'll see, for example, the movies, you'll see movies that are from the United States that are either given subtitles or they're dubbed. Or for example, in TV shows, they'll be completely different from the ones that we see here, as well as in music. So
yeah, and stories and movies and TV shows are very similar in the fact that they all show some similar stories that we all understand. And so, and also with music, a large part of the reasons why people watch music, listen to music and watch films and TV shows are sometimes the same reasons that we here watch them. So there are a lot more similarities than we might actually think.